Hello, thank you for joining our webinar today on exploring registered apprenticeships in the clean energy industry. My name is Richard Lawrence. I am a program director here at the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. Happy National Apprenticeship Week, kicking it off today. Definitely check out the Department of Labor website there for other apprenticeship events this all week with different themes each day. Today, we'll be giving you an overview of registered apprenticeships and how they apply to the clean energy industry. We are recording this webinar, so you should have received that notice. And please note that if you have any questions, go ahead and put those into the chat or the Q&A box that you see there. We'll compile those and get to as many as we can at the end of the session today. So again, go ahead and put those questions in the chat as they come up throughout the session. I am joined today by Erica Simmons, the VP of Equity and Workforce Development at the Solar Energy Industries Association, who will be talking about apprenticeship options within the solar and storage industries, and Xavier Walter, the Director of Outreach at the Building Performance Association, talking about energy efficiency and other building performance related occupations and how apprenticeships fit there and what they're doing. I'll be starting off with an overview of registered apprenticeships and how they work and give you an idea of what to look for. This is all, we are all part of the Apprenticeships in Clean Energy Network, ACE Network, coalition of, we've got workforce associations, we've got obviously the industry trade associations I just mentioned, as well as some others. A number of other groups involved with education and workforce development, big coalition providing support for you as you navigate the registered apprenticeship system. This ACE network is a contract with the Department of Labor. We are an industry intermediary here to help people navigate the apprenticeship system. The ACE network project involves a lot of outreach and engagement like this webinar here, discussing the benefits of apprenticeship, helping you understand your options and exploring those. And then lots of technical support we can give you to help you with any stage there of the process, exploring your options, selecting occupations, developing your standards and other aspects like that. We also do have some limited financial incentives to help employers to hire and train apprentices, and also just help navigate other resources, as we'll talk about, lots of other financial incentives options out there to support apprenticeships. Based on this, we've also been doing a lot of this work under a Department of Energy project through the Solar Energy Technologies Office, the Solar Ready Veterans Network. As you'll see, apprenticeships are one of the best ways to attract and retain veterans into any occupation, any job that you have. So we've been working on apprenticeships for a while under that project. And this new contract with the Department of Labor allows us to really expand our efforts and expand this network, as you just saw, to give you that support. So what are registered apprenticeships? Well, they are really a talent development strategy that can be used certainly in the clean energy and other industries. Apprenticeships are a time-tested tool for workforce development, literally, ages-old process of training somebody in an occupation on the job under the supervision of an experienced person in that field. And apprenticeships are an employer-driven model. They're really driven by employer needs and what they need people trained in, involving on-the-job training, earn while you learn. So these are apprentices are employees. You're getting productive work out of them during the apprenticeship program, and help address your workforce challenges there. They're also very inclusive, bringing in diverse populations, and they lead towards really family-sustaining careers. Apprenticeships are just a key tool that can be used to develop a highly skilled and diverse pipeline of talent and meet your workforce needs. A registered apprenticeship program is one that has met the standards that are defined by the U.S. Department of Labor for how you run these types of training programs, on-the-job training supervised by the mentor. They're either registered with the U.S. Department of Labor, roughly half the states operate under the U.S. Department of Labor, and about half the states have their own state apprenticeship agency where you would register in that state. So there are some different options. Again, we're here to help you navigate that system, understand where you would need to register, if you need to register just at the national level, or if there's also state registration that's necessary if you want to start a program. When someone completes a registered apprenticeship, they are issued a nationally recognized credential by the Department of Labor that shows that they have completed this training in an occupation and are therefore now a skilled practitioner, often referred to as a journey worker in that trade. And generally, apprenticeships take between 2 to 5 years to complete. They can be as little as 1 year, depends on the occupation. But in many ways, it's helpful to think of them as similar to a college degree. There's different types of college degrees, some associate's degrees in certain fields that you're learning maybe only take about 2 years to learn, whereas other trades that require a more extensive training are going to take longer, in that 4+ year range sometimes. So it depends on the occupation for how long that training program is going to have to last, but similar to a degree in that way. Also similar in that it's real comprehensive sort of fundamental training in that occupation. That somebody completes let's say a biology degree in one college, and they create, or another person has a biology degree at another college. They may have slightly different coursework, but that person coming out of that degree, has a pretty good understanding of that science, right? And same with apprenticeship programs. Somebody going through, say, an electrician apprenticeship with one employer and another person going through an electrician apprenticeship with a different employer, they're obviously going to have different experiences. They may have slightly different coursework, but in the end, they've learned pretty similar, level of knowledge and experience coming out of that, and they're both designated as a journey worker in that trade. So key components of a registered apprenticeships, just to look at that again, it starts as an industry-led initiative. Every occupation that is able to be trained through an apprenticeship system and be registered, there's over 1,000 occupations that you can run apprenticeship programs. Each of those occupations has been vetted by the industry to make sure that it is aligned with business needs. You're also able to modify those occupations a little bit, the training that you're doing, again, to meet the individual employer needs. So you'll have slightly different programs from one employer to the next, but overall they're going to be standardized across that occupation so that they're fundamentally very similar in terms of what the person learns during that apprenticeship program. Apprenticeships are paid jobs. Apprentices are paid employees. They are doing work for you as they're learning on the job, and increase as they go through the program. Their knowledge and skills increase, and their pay will also increase throughout the apprenticeship program. So the pay scales are built into the apprenticeship system. As they learn more, they do get paid more until they complete the program, at which they should be making similar wages to a skilled, experienced journey worker. Apprenticeships use a combination of structured on-the-job learning. So structured means you have a formatted plan of what the person is going to learn while they're on the job, and they work through those learning outcomes, the things that they need to learn on the job under the supervision of that skilled mentor. In addition to that on-the-job training, they also complete supplemental, or sometimes called related instruction, related technical instruction, you might see it called. This related instruction, reinforces that learning that they're doing in the field, covers a lot of theory. They might not They might not get in the field. It gives them time to study and focus on that, learn the books, maybe a code book if they're learning one of the trades, or other theory about what they're learning in the field. Apprenticeships really do incorporate a big aspect of promoting diversity. The regulations for having a registered program do help ensure that registered apprenticeships are non-discriminatory in nature. They have anti-harassment provisions, conflict resolution procedures if there is perception that there may be harassment or other equal opportunity that's not being followed. The recruitment process is looked at that is going to be focused on having equal employment opportunities for all that apply. Apprenticeships bake in, quality and safety are embedded. You have to include safety training into a training plan to get that approved. And by having a registered program, that employer also obviously has to follow Department of Labor, safety workplace protections that they have in place in order to maintain that program. At the end, as we said, at the end of the program, that apprentice earns a credential that's issued by the Department of Labor, but they might also incorporate other credentials in that training program. So you'll hear, Xavier talk about, BPI, Building Performance Institute certifications that are potentially built into those programs. Some of the solar training programs are incorporating NABCEP credentials, or some of the construction trades might have credentials through the NCCER. Some of the wind-based programs are going to have Global Wind Organization certifications embedded in those programs. So again, as that apprentice learns those skills, they're also going to be earning those industry credentials in that program. Apprenticeships really benefit employers, as we talked about, but also workers too. So as an employer, they are a very effective recruitment tool. They are a great way to attract job seekers into the labor force, in part, obviously, because they are paid jobs while the person's learning. So it's a great way to recruit talent that is looking to learn, looking to grow in their trade, but maybe had other barriers in place to pursuing an educational pathway that might have otherwise led to certain types of jobs that you have. So, but as a great workforce recruitment tool, we've seen employers indicating that they have seen reduced costs, definitely an increased ability to attract talent to those positions. And we also see improved worker productivity. Again, apprentices are being supervised as they're learning. You've got a structured pathway to these are the things they need to learn to move to that next step and increase their knowledge and skills there. And through that, they're doing that through on the job training. So they're doing that job. And so you're getting a high level of productivity out of those apprentices, even while they're learning that trade. The training is customized. Generally, it's, like we said, standardized across an industry, but there is flexibility to adapt that to meet each employer's needs with certain types of training, coursework that they may need that's specific to the type of work that they're doing, or regional variations in the type of work performed. Certainly, some contractors are going to work, for instance, more at the commercial level, while others are going to be more at the residential. But otherwise, they're standardized and they're learning similar types of tasks. Definitely a big benefit of apprenticeships is the retention of your employees. So during that apprenticeship program, the apprentices are being provided with a lot of support to make sure that they're progressing through that program, that they're learning the knowledge and skills that they need. So they get that support from their employer. They see the commitment that the employers are providing to them in their progression on a career pathway. And that in turn provides a commitment from that apprentice to their employer as well. And the vast majority of apprentices, once they complete a program, they stay with that employer and have a productive career, or at least next few years of their job path. And of course, as we said, diversity, a big key component there is that earn while you learn model. They are being paid while doing that training. They don't need to take several years out of their life and go into debt, through some of the other education pathways that are out there. They can earn a living and learn at the same time. So that is a great way to reduce a lot of barriers that are out there for underserved populations of all different types. Apprentices can also help with regulatory compliance. So one of the things is, for example, licensing requirements. If you need licensed practitioners to work for you to do certain work, for instance, again, like electrical, plumbing, other trades like that often require a license, and sometimes, often they'll require an individual worker to have a certification or license by that state to be performing the work. And registered apprenticeships are typically incorporated into as one of the key pathways for earning those credentials and meeting those requirements. There's also financial incentives that are available if you do have a registered program, as well as that technical support that entities like our ACE network and other groups out there within the workforce system can provide you to develop those programs. So lots of interest right now in the Inflation Reduction Act and the labor provisions within that. A registered apprenticeship program is required to get those many of those tax credits, or at least the full value. There's Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act funds that get distributed out to the states, and other state training funds a lot of times are tied into the apprenticeship system, and you can access those funds by having a registered apprenticeship program. Sometimes there's wage reimbursements for the wages you're paying those apprentices or your mentors, other types of incentives out there. And as I start off with as well, veterans, one of the great apprenticeships are a great way to attract veterans to an occupation, because that veteran is if they're able to access a GI Bill that has housing allowances that they can earn while they're in the apprenticeship program. So a little extra incentive there to bring veterans on. So quick look at the Inflation Reduction Act. Certainly don't have a lot of time to go into the details of that, but wanted to highlight a few things here. Most of the tax incentives that are in the Inflation Reduction Act do have now labor provisions, which include having registered apprentices doing a percentage of that work, and they also have prevailing wage requirements to get these tax credits, to be eligible to claim those. So the big ones in the renewable energy, the clean energy industry, a few of those. There's several others, multiple others that aren't on those lists, but for instance, building nuclear power plants and things like that. There's other tax credits around there, but the investment tax credit, ITC, is a big one. If you don't have registered apprentices working on the job, if you don't pay prevailing wage, you're eligible for 6% of your project costs. That's the base tax credit. If you do meet those labor provisions, have registered apprentices, and pay everybody prevailing wage, then you can get 30% of the project costs. So literally 24% of the total project hinges on having a registered apprenticeship program and paying these prevailing wages. The same for the production tax credit. The base credit is 0.3 cents per kilowatt hour. I think I have a typo there. That should be 0.03. It's 0.3 cents per kilowatt hour, and 1.5 cents if you have the full credit. Both of those are actually adjusted for inflation, so they are higher than those numbers too. But that is again about 5 times the credit that you can get if you have an apprenticeship program of prevailing wage. The same applies to the 179D commercial building deduction for energy efficiencies, and again a host of others. That 179D is a more complex structure as to what the credits are, but very similar, sort of 5 times the credit available if you meet these requirements. Important to note that there is both a labor hours requirement, which is a minimum percentage of the work on the job, the construction work. It has to be performed by these apprentices. That's 12.5% this year, goes up to 15% next year, and remains at 15% for the rest of the duration, next decade or so, the duration of the IRA. There's also a participation requirement, which is very important to note, that every contractor or subcontractor that has 4 or more employees on the job does have to have at least one apprentice. The combination of those two, total hours of essentially 15% starting next year, and every contractor having at least one apprentice. Within that, the ratios that are set by the programs and the wages for those apprentices are set by the programs. So you've got options of either starting a program or joining a program. First is identify the apprenticeable occupation, determine what you're going to be training that person in, determine the program sponsor. So the sponsor is the person who has sort of administrative responsibility of the program and make sure that it's running according to the program standards. You have to have this work process schedule. It shows what they're going to learn on the job, and their training plan is what they're going to learn in their related instruction. There's other program requirements and policies that you need to look at, and then register that. Go ahead and then start recruiting, and ongoing, there's some reporting and record keeping that's involved. So identify the occupation. Again, there's over 1,000 occupations that are registered with the Department of Labor. There's a link there at the bottom, apprenticeship.gov/apprenticeship-occupations. It's a great place to see all those occupations. You get a outline of the how long they need to be in terms of time, and what types of skills they're going to covered in that. To be apprenticeable, it does need to be an occupation that takes at least a year to learn, and like I said, it's commonly recognized across the industry. There's a few different options for who can sponsor the program. Obviously, an employer themselves can manage it all, can sponsor it, can do all of the administrative aspects of it, and can also, even with that, can either provide the instruction in-house with their own staff or hire, partner with an educational institution to deliver that training. Most apprenticeship programs these days are some type of group-sponsored program, and there's various entities that sponsor. And what a group-sponsored is, it allows multiple employers to participate in that program and train apprentices on the job, while the related instruction is coordinated across those groups. Often these are done either through the joint labor and management, so a union is involved, or they could be sponsored by other groups like a trade association or a community college, or really there's a lot of options for who can be a sponsor of that program and just do that administration of the project. So once you've determined the sponsor, you create your work process schedule and your training plan. There's a couple of options for this as well. We're commonly often refer to apprenticeships as time-based, and they do have to take at least a year to complete. But you can structure it as a competency-based model as well, that says, here's all the things that we need to show that this person needs to demonstrate that they know how to do, rather than just taking a certain amount of time doing those tasks on the job. And then, of course, a hybrid between those two, but of time and competency-based. But you define all those things through the work process schedule, and there are frameworks available through the Department of Labor. You can modify those, again, to meet the employer needs. Important to note that a registered apprenticeship does need at least 144 hours per year of that related instruction that is outside of the time that they would spend in their on-the-job learning. There's a number of other, policies that need to be built besides just that approach and term. Some things in terms of minimum eligibility requirements. Important one to think about is a credit for prior experience. If you're especially if you're bringing on incumbent workers that maybe have been working for you for a couple of years already, you can advance them, or somebody that's come from another program, maybe had some job experience working on a project somewhere else, and then they join your program. It's important to be able to give credit for prior experience. They can get at least half their apprenticeship time earned through that. Ratios are a critical option that's often impacted by state requirements there in terms of how many journey workers you need to each apprentice. Your apprenticeship program will also define the wage schedule as they progress through steps of that program, how their wage will increase. This gives the apprentice an understanding of what they need to do to advance in their job and to meet these requirements. And other aspects there, if you do have collective bargaining provisions, you're working with the union, you need to incorporate those into your program. Like I said, then you register it. About half the states out there are registered just directly through the Department of Labor. The other half have state approving agencies. So sometimes a little bit difficult to navigate these, but the ACE network is here to help you with that. And now I'm going to turn it over to Erica Simmons at SIA.
Thanks so much, Richard. And hello, everyone. Happy National Apprenticeship Week. I also just learned it's World Kindness Day. So go out there, be kind, and accept some kindness. I am excited about the opportunities within apprenticeship for the solar industry. I just wanted to provide y'all with a picture of the growth of solar jobs over the years. All of this is pre-Inflation Reduction Act. A few things to notice. Installation and developers, those type of roles take up a majority of the solar workforce. Additionally, manufacturing has kind of stayed pretty steady throughout the years, some ups and downs, but no dramatic change. And those are a couple key points. Also notice that operations and maintenance comes in towards the last 5 years or so, where it wasn't such a big deal before. So just some observations in regards to what's been going on with the solar workforce. Next slide. Next slide, please. Just Richard touched on this already, but the Inflation Reduction Act has significant impacts on the industry as it rolls out over the next decade. We're expecting solar industry employment to pretty much at least double, maybe more, as we approach 2033. And manufacturing is highly impacted by the Inflation Reduction Act, and we're expecting that workforce to triple in size to 100,000 jobs. We've already seen a significant growth in the manufacturing space just this year alone, with many facilities coming on in the U.S. Next slide, please. Just so it's clear, there's a major motivation right now to engage in registered apprenticeship if you are carrying out projects over 1 megawatt in the solar plus storage space. To meet these provisions, folks are in the process of planning and looking through those choices that Richard mentioned. Will we bring something in-house? Will we join a group sponsorship? Will we partner with organized labor? There are many ways to go about it, but this is a huge motivation in the process. So folks are looking towards growth, but also significantly changing the workforce plans within their companies in order to meet these labor provisions. Next slide, please. So we looked at up to 2022 in regards to jobs. I want to give you all a sense of just the growth in the amount of solar plus storage installed and connected in the U.S. over the years to come. With these projections, you see a huge climb in the utility space. That's that kind of greenish blue there, and a little bit in the non-residential. But that bluish green means a lot, because utility scale solar is definitely over 1 megawatt. So you can see that the majority of growth within the industry, folks are going to be looking to build these apprenticeship programs in order to meet those goals and get their full tax credits. It's also just a significantly change. We are not the only industry growing due to the Inflation Reduction Act, and I want to get into some of the different areas of work that this requires. Next slide. While construction isn't the only thing going on in solar, as I said, it's a majority of the work. These are examples of apprenticeable occupations that have been common in the field of solar, or have been interpreted to be a good fit for the solar space. You can see different types of electricians, construction craft laborer, operating engineer, carpenters, iron workers. Those are occupations. I want you to note that job role could say many different things, but what we want to pay attention to as we think about apprenticeships in the solar space is the apprenticeable occupation. You'll notice that none of those say solar anything. On a federal level, you're not going to find a solar specific apprenticeable occupation at this time. So it's really important as folks look to build their programs or seek out partnerships that they're aware of the different occupations that could be involved and what type of work those different occupations can be covering. You can also see, depending on the type of occupation, there's a difference in the number of years that the apprenticeship might take. Now, we've been highly focused on construction over the last year and a half as we talk about this, because there's going to be such a strong demand with the labor provisions. But I really want to highlight that within the industry, there's a number of other apprenticeable occupations that can apply to solar plus storage businesses, including in IT, including in sales, including in business management. So while we will talk a lot about construction-based roles, we recognize that apprenticeship is a proven model of workforce development. Richard mentioned the retention value within that. There's values around safety, around standards being taught across programs, and that could be felt in various types of occupations. So as you're watching this and you have a workforce beyond construction, please look into the different apprenticeable occupations that might fit into the other opportunities within your business. Next slide. And I cannot talk about apprenticeships and building strong programs without addressing recruitment. We are in the midst of folks looking to build programs, but those programs can't exist unless there's a workforce to come in and play the part in as apprentices. So it's really important as apprenticeship programs are planned, there's a recruitment plan in place yet. That could be engaging with existing pre-apprenticeship programs, existing schools, trade schools, community colleges, four-year colleges, the gamut. But those relationships and getting the word out about the apprenticeship opportunities is key to us being able to do that work, and should be a core piece of planning and consideration as folks build out their programs. Richard mentioned retention, and I want to mention retention isn't a guarantee. Programs have to be quality for folks to stick around. So thinking about the recruitment and the retention plan within programs is critical for apprenticeship program success. The ACE network is definitely here to support in thinking through those different aspects. And we know that thinking through those different aspects also helps meet the diversity, equity, inclusion goals of the Registered Apprenticeship Program Network, and that supports your businesses. One key thing that we're focused on right now is looking at the existing occupations, right, apprenticeable occupations that we know can fulfill a lot of the need in the industry, and putting together national guideline standards. So everybody's in this with their company, but we are in this as a larger industry. And part of what we want to do is make it as easy as possible for folks to be successful. So we want to look at these occupations. The first one we're looking at is construction craft laborer. We'll be doing that in Q1 of 2024. But we want to encourage consistency and portability between program sponsors and employers. And what do I mean by that? Having standards. It means if somebody is starting their apprenticeship in one place, and you're comparing them to somebody doing the same apprenticeship in another place, you know that they're receiving similar things and have similar skill sets. And ideally, right, the quality of program is also consistent. Portability talks about when person A over here transitions to another employer or transitions to another program. We want them to be able to do that as easily as possible, retaining all the apprenticeship hours and credit that they've had and being able to continue on in their career progress. That takes planning, coordination amongst businesses and sponsors, and national guideline standards help in that process. When multiple companies, multiple sponsors can look towards national guideline standards for a particular occupation and plan around that, that helps keep the consistency and portability at the best possible place for workers. And when it's good for workers, it's good for the industry as a whole. Also, something we'll be working on is the related instruction and on the job training, right? That's part of these guideline standards. So we're excited to be engaging with some employers so we can figure out the best way to craft these guideline standards to work across many business types in the industry. So that's one of the key things that we're starting off with for the solar industry as we move into 2024. Next. Thank you very much. Xavier, all yours.
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. My name is Xavier Walter with the Building Performance Association. We've been working for some time now on a registered apprenticeship program around residential energy efficiency. This is a place that we found not so many people have participated, if any at all. Usually most have been on the small technician level. But we feel like this is a great way to give workers coming into the clean energy industries or those that already live in the clean energy industries to be able to take advantage of a career pathway versus just a traditional take a class, get a job. Next slide, please. Our nonprofit reaches about 20,000 individuals every week. We've been around for over 30 years, formerly the Affordable Comfort Institute, then Home Performance Coalition, and now for the last 3 or 4 years, the Building Performance Association. We represent all the workers in and around residential energy efficiency, and anybody that really works to make homes more comfortable, safe, and efficient. The vast majority of our group is comprised of weatherization practitioners, as well as market rate contractors, program implementers, funding entities, and other nonprofits that do this type of work, and with a real focus on the holistic whole building approach to energy efficiency and looking at the house or the home or the building as a system, not just one component or another. Next slide. We obviously know that the trades themselves are in huge need of workers. Energy efficiency isn't like its own standalone industry. One thing that I learned is that it's embedded deep inside within all of the trades, and anybody that's doing a job, even for a small percentage of a time, that impacts the natural resources consumption of that building can be considered an energy efficiency worker. We're currently working across the country in various states to properly identify and benchmark the needs for the workforce, as well as providing stakeholder engagement with state energy offices, local contractors, training institutions, and the like. Our primary focus in the last year has been in West Virginia, Maine, Delaware, Virginia, and now we're starting in Kentucky. Basically, we want to identify the assets on the ground, who are the people that have been doing this work, and how can we lift them up to be successful and to help us build capacity in the marketplace. We have a team of individuals with a vast amount of experience to help provide implementation plans and workforce recommendations. We have a large network of training partners and providers from both the Building Performance Institute ecosystem, as well as ResNet in the new construction and ASHRAE in small commercial. Our real focus is helping people with the boots on the ground and contractors that are, crossing that threshold into homeowners' houses. We are working to sponsor, and we have sponsored a Maine AmeriCorps Vista up in Maine that's really provide the opportunity for our association to get out to the career fairs, home shows, and other ground level activities to promote the opportunities within the energy efficiency marketplace and help contractors identify themselves as energy efficiency workers. We've recently joined the ACE Network partner as an ACE Network partner to provide technical support for Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs anywhere in the country. We can help everything from, understanding what place you would fit as a stakeholder in the process, helping people understand what it takes to get registered and be registered. We are applying for intermediary sponsorships in some states and helping others become sponsors, whether that be employers or other training centers around the country. For those of us that lived during the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, we saw a large federal cash infusion into our ecosystem. And unfortunately, many of those programs and people are not in our industry today. We believe that a jobs first mentality is really a key to success moving forward, utilizing a lot of this federal training dollars that I'll talk about in a minute. Next slide. There are lots of careers within energy efficiency. The tip of the spear is the residential energy auditor or that energy specialist or energy expert that really is designed to come in and assess the building, make recommendations as to what upgrades can be completed, help identify priority lists, determine energy savings where applicable, and really highlight a lot of the health and safety benefits and resiliency benefits that come along with a whole house energy efficiency project. But there's other trades that really are instrumental in the success of any whole house or whole building approach. The HVAC are contractors. Their industry is really, really in desperate need of workers, and registered apprenticeship programs can help them bring in new technicians and provide them a pathway through not just a job, but a career. Many practitioners in energy efficiency existing homes can move over to the new home side and provide residential building code inspector training. There's lots of technical competencies required there as it relates to advanced energy codes across the country. As we build homes better and they're performing better, there's needs for experts in those fields to help educate builders and other contractors or subcontractors in best practices on how to do these things. It all starts around building science and building science principles, and then you can move along the ladder up the ladder that way. And, energy efficiency is really just how we pay for a lot of this work. The true benefit is having a healthier, more durable home. We found that, a lot of people have found that it's much less expensive to tend to some of these smaller health and safety issues in a home that are leading to bad indoor air quality. And by improving that, we can save folks from having to go to emergency rooms and get on nebulizers and other health and adverse health impacts from things like carbon monoxide, mold, and the like. We are kind of concentrating on this energy specialist pathway, which kind of helps mentor and create this energy expert. And we'll go into that here in the next slide. Talk a little bit about energy efficiency jobs in America. The energy efficiency jobs report just came out for Me for the Future. 2 in every 5 jobs within the energy sector are concentrated or have some affluence to energy efficiency, totaling 1.19 million construction jobs that do touch, again, the natural resource consumption or waste in buildings. 15% of folks spend at least 50% of their time completing a task that can impact the use or the consumption of natural resources. 9% of jobs are held by veterans, such as myself. I found is the structure and the opportunity for leadership is really fit into my skill set as a veteran really well. We anticipate 6% growth in energy efficiency careers in 2023. And, 95% of all employers say it's very difficult or somewhat difficult to hire qualified workers. Again, this is not just representative of our industry of energy efficiency, but the trades on a whole. So I believe that we can utilize the mission around saving energy dollars and saving the climate. We can utilize that mission to help fill some of these trade jobs that haven't previously identified as energy efficiency jobs or jobs doing things like that. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier some of the opportunities for funding, and obviously I talk to a lot of employers, and their first question is, well, what's in it for me? We understand the intrinsic value of registered apprenticeship and being more aligned with plumbers and electricians and unions that have been doing this so successfully for so long. And now with the federal investments coming down from the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, we have some financial contributions that we can add to the mix. Every state and even every county or workforce zone has incentives and programs around registered apprenticeship that employers can take advantage of. It's been difficult for us as an industry being able to hone in very specifically on one place because the dollars are spread out and they really need to be braided together based off the location of that employer. But we do have a really great program called Training and Residential Energy Contractors, previously known the Contractor Training Grants in the IRA, and it started out as Hope for Homes previous to that, and then going all the way back 10 years during the Obama administration, it was called the Gold Star program. So we're passed. It's been passed in the law, and guidance has been issued. State energy offices can apply to the Department of Energy by January 31st to take advantage of $250 million across the country to take advantage of being able to fund training opportunities that are in support of the homes and HERA rebates. There's over $9 billion in residential energy efficiency rebates coming next year, and we need to make sure that the workforce is ready. And we believe that we can do this in a different way where it's sustainable by bringing people through this career path, saying, you're going into the attic or the crawl space today, but that if you complete these 2,000 hours and you go through these badges and you gain these different credentials from the Building Performance Institute or Residential Energy Services Network, and you combine that with OSHA training, EPA training, lead safe training, maybe some environmental training, health and safety, and we've really make this well-rounded worker with a pathway moving forward. Over the course of 2 or 3 or 4 years, they know that they can become project managers or crew leaders. They can go out and be in business for themselves. There's other programs in the Inflation Reduction Act that provide for subsidies for efforts like energy audits on existing homes and buildings. And some of those provisions offer training dollars associated with it. Specifically, the bipartisan infrastructure law has upwards of $2 million per state for like 15 states. I think it's a total of $40 million. for training energy auditors specifically, and they target these industry-leading standardized credentials like we found from the Building Performance Institute. We know that we don't have to create new curriculum. We don't need to create new credentials. We have time-tested and long-standing test centers out there that have been in business for a very long time that have already gone through and made the mistakes. So we can tap into this network of practitioners to really, springboard them and the industry. And there may be people that have been around for a long time that can then move on to become mentors for the younger folks or the newer people into the field. And we can take this as a chance to really dig into communities that we haven't never dug into before. Because these jobs are not outsourced and they have the opportunity that we're training people in communities to do work in those very same communities. That gives us an opportunity to really leverage these funds in communities that have been either previously denied access in the past, or to be able to, to help people that never have heard these concepts before or never really been involved in residential utility-based rebate programs in the past, to really give a chance to have this type of sustainable behavior pop up in places it's never been before. Next slide. We've created as an association a pathway to, for this worker, for this registered apprenticeship. We really start with building science principles. That's a certificate program offered by the Building Performance Institute. They actually just administer the test, but there's dozens of ways that you can go about getting access to the courses themselves from test centers all across the country. Our association has a free curriculum designed for existing high schools and technical schools and practitioners, anybody that, if you're an employer and you want to just really give your team an understanding of this whole house holistic approach. Because what we know with technology advancements, we know that swapping the box of an HVAC unit may not be the best thing when we have houses that may be tight, or houses that may be leaky. We may be plugging that box into bad, ductwork. We may be converting from a fossil fuel appliance to an electrical appliance that has, ramifications on the breaker panel or the load of the house. So we need to take this holistic approach and look at all the pieces in which to do that. So people can start out as a building science principle certificate that can be inserted in pre-apprenticeship activities all across the country, and no matter what the activity is, it may be for professionals. I've taught this class for real estate professionals, HVAC classes, other large workforce development groups. And then that moves them into the apprenticeship phase. We've structured this example out with the Building Performance Institute, where they can get their building analyst technician, move through to get their building analyst professional. And then at the end of a apprenticeship, they may be prepared to go even further and challenge the energy auditor exam, which requires both a written as well as field practical exam, and then even into quality control inspector, which is called out specifically in the legislation for a lot of these rebates coming down, that quality control inspector is going to be required for the administration of a lot of those residential rebates. And that requires, unto itself, to even be able to sit for that exam, it requires prerequisite job experience. So something like registered apprenticeship can prepare that individual very nicely for that quality control inspector exam. We can insert some of the older professionals, or maybe if you're a builder and you're, coming close to retirement, or you've been an inspector for years, or you just want to pay a different pace of life and want to go out for business yourself, you can use your knowledge to help lift up others through this process. And it really focuses on the ability for specifically the TREC grants, or the Training Residential Energy Contractors, to drive money to the employer for that OJT. If that employer is taking time out of their workday to help lift up junior apprentices and leverage senior workers, team leaders in that process, there should be a wage subsidy associated with that. So to kind of reimburse that employer for that time on their clock. And we can use that as a carrot for employers to participate. So we're hoping as these structures come out through these state energy offices and these programs get administered across the states, that OJT dollars and subsidy thereof is something that's part of that. And this registered apprenticeship gives us a really great mechanism to not only offer to direct those funds in that area, but also then braid in or leverage technical assistance dollars from that are gained by low-income weatherization agencies, other state level governor guarantee grant programs or DOL monies or workforce one-stop dollars that are available. Next slide. If anybody's interested,
David, we've just got a couple minutes left, so I want to try to wrap it up so we can get a couple Q&A if we can.
No problem. I think this is my last slide. Feel free to click that QR code. Technical assistance is free as part of this ACE network. If you're interested in learning more or starting your own energy specialist registered apprenticeship program, please feel free to reach out to me. Our team stands ready. We do have turnkey solutions. So if you have a pile of grant dollars and you don't know where to start, we have strategic planning opportunities for you. And we have turnkey solutions that anybody, any employer, any sponsoring agency can start their program today. So just feel free to reach out. Last slide, if you flip it over, it has my contact info, I think. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We appreciate it. Again, I'm Xavier Walter, and happy to talk to anybody. Just feel free to send me an email. Thanks so much, Richard. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. All right, hop back on here, and we will certainly share these slides with everybody on the call. This is our final slide here. Check out the ACE Networks site. And if you are interested in getting support with understanding your options and registering programs, accessing financial incentives, and understanding how to implement registered apprenticeship programs and hire, recruit and train apprentices, go ahead and get in touch with us, and we will see how we can help you out. I know, Megan, you've been looking at some questions there. I've just responded to a couple in the QA section as well. But if we've got, any others you have that you've seen come up, let me know.
It looks like you answered most of them in the chat. There's one about traveling and working between states on utility scale projects. I don't know if we want to touch on that.
Yeah, working on minutes. That's a good one. Just typing the answer now, but it's definitely one that comes up a lot in the employers we're talking to that are working on these megawatt plus projects. Those tend to be in a certain location, and someone would go work there for a while. But then that construction job, there'd be another project somewhere else, often in another state, and those, the workers need to move from place to place, or they need to hire new workers in that area to do that other job. Within the apprenticeship system, if you have a registered program, that worker can complete their training anywhere and can complete their complete their apprenticeship training wherever you are doing that work. And so would be able to meet the Inflation Reduction Act requirements there because they would be a registered apprentice. However, I do need to say that you may need to register that program in each state that you're operating and training that apprentice if you do want to access that state's tax credits, other workforce funding that they might have available. They really want to give that funding to apprentices that are getting trained in that state and are doing their work in that state. So you can't use training dollars from Texas to support somebody's training when they're off in Ohio or something. And also licensing requirements. If you are trying to get that person credit towards a license or other, regulatory stuff. This is kind of stuff outside of the apprenticeship system per se. You may need to register kind of state by state, but otherwise, once they're registered in that program, they can, get that credit. Their training counts wherever they complete it.
All right, we've got one more question. I think we have time for just this one more. Looks like Erica, you flagged that you wanted to answer this one about finding apprenticeships for laborers.
Yes, first I want to clarify. So on that list of kind of the more common apprenticeable occupations, we had construction craft laborer, which is a type of laborer. So that is a very common occupation that will be present on site. However, where in the country you are, definitely will dictate whether there's a healthy supply of registered apprentices under the laborer occupation. And we'd be happy to talk more through different sources, and of course access the DOL site to find out more. But laborers definitely a key component to the type of occupations used on site currently. Richard, anything to add?
Yeah, no, that's correct. Some states you will certainly have presence of the LIUNA, the laborers union. Others you may have some trade associations that contractors associations that would run programs for laborers. Then the NCCER has training programs that are used by a lot of those. And yeah, so it kind of does vary by state where you see those unions or contractors associations active with those existing programs. But yeah, labor is certainly an apprenticeable occupation, and one that we see being a lot of the actual laborers union does have a job analysis of what a laborer would do on a solar project. All detailing all the work. They actually just are part of the free trade agreement that was done a few weeks ago with a combination of the laborers, the electricians, and the operating engineers together, showing which of those workers would do which components of the job task to complete an installation. So. But yeah, finding those apprentices, again, you can also register your own program. We've worked with a number of companies to create a laborer apprenticeship option and do that training and access some curriculum that's out there, and can help you with that too if you're having trouble finding a group program to participate in currently. And I think we are actually just over time, so I think we will call it there, but definitely reach out, email if you do have any follow-up questions, and sign up if you are interested in getting some additional technical support. We thank you for your time. Happy Apprenticeship Week, and we look forward to seeing all the programs that are going to be coming out in the near future. And thank you for my speakers who've joined me, and also all of the staff that has helped all of us to put this and all of our work together. Have a good day.